Today we're going deep, really deep into this story. It's packed with family drama, divine encounters, and a name change that really echoes through history.
Oh yeah, this one is a classic.
We're looking at Genesis 32. Specifically, we're zeroing in on Jacob's return home after years away and, his impending encounter with his brother Esau. And the thing is, Jacob, well, he kind of tricked Esau out of his birthright years ago. And so now he's, I guess you could say, terrified of Esau's revenge.
Yeah, and that's where understanding the cultural context of the birthright really becomes so crucial. Back then the birthright wasn't just some family heirloom.
Right.
It was huge. It carried serious social and economic clout, including leadership within the family and a double portion of the inheritance.
Oh, wow.
Jacob's deception, it wasn't just a sibling squabble. This was a major transgression.
So Jacob is like in full panic mode.
Yeah.
And the text even describes him experiencing great fear and distress. He even starts prepping like he's some kind of military strategist. He divides his people and livestock, sends waves of gifts ahead.
Trying to soften the blow.
Yeah, hoping to smooth things over with Esau.
Sure.
This like strategic brilliance or just plain fear driving him.
It's so fascinating to see Jacob's personality kind of unfold,
Yeah.
Here, he's clearly cunning, resourceful, a master planner.
Yeah.
But those gifts also hint at, I think, a bit of a psychological layer to all of this, don't you think?
Oh, for sure.
Gift giving, I mean, yeah, it's a way of appeasing someone, but it can also be like a subtle power play.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder if Jacob is genuinely seeking reconciliation or if he's just trying to manipulate the situation
Right.
to his advantage.
Yeah.
But then we see him turn to prayer, and it's just raw, desperate.
Yeah.
This plea to God where he owns up to his past mistakes, but at the same time, he's also clinging to the promises that God made to him. I'm curious. Some might say that he's trying to play both sides here, scheming with these gifts and then pleading with God. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that's a valid observation.
Yeah.
It definitely adds complexity to Jacob's character, There's a real vulnerability in his prayer, but it could also be interpreted as him, trying to get God on his side.
Yeah.
It makes you think about our own prayers, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Are we truly seeking guidance and forgiveness, or are we sometimes trying to bargain our way out of tough situations?
It's a good question.
Yeah.
That's a really deep question for our listeners to consider. But then the story takes this even more dramatic turn.
Oh, yeah.
We come to the most famous part, the part everyone remembers. Jacob wrestling with this mysterious figure all night long.
All night.
This is where the story goes from family drama to a full-blown spiritual showdown.
I love that.
This encounter, it's like one of those moments in the text that sparks endless debate.
Oh, yeah.
Some believe it was an angel, others say a divine being, and then still others see it as a representation of Jacob's own internal struggles. What do you think?
It's hard to say, isn't it? There's so much there. What resonates most with you?
I find myself, personally, I'm kind of drawn to the idea of this being a manifestation of his internal struggle. Like he's literally wrestling with his past,
yeah.
his guilt, his fear. But let's break down the details because they are pretty intense.
Okay, let's do it.
The hip injury, Jacob refusing to let go until he gets a blessing, and then boom, the name change from Jacob to Israel.
It's a big one.
One thing that really stands out to me is this name change. What's the significance of that?
This name change, this is a pivotal moment in the story. Israel is often interpreted as one who struggles with God, or one who prevails with God.
Wow.
It signifies a huge transformation in Jacob's character and destiny. Yeah. It's almost like his old identity, Jacob the deceiver, is being stripped away and replaced with something new, something forged in this struggle.
And just imagine the impact this must have had on Jacob. I mean, the text even tells us he walked with a limp for the rest of his life, a physical reminder of this encounter.
Wow.
It makes you think about how our experiences, even the painful ones, can really shape who we become.
They really can.
And it's not just Jacob. The Israelites were forbidden from eating the hip tendon. A tradition stemming from this very event is like this fascinating example of how a personal struggle can ripple outward, becoming woven into the fabric of a culture.
I love that. I love that.
It's a powerful image.
Yeah.
Jacob limping, the Israelites carrying this dietary reminder. It suggests that even our most private struggles can leave a lasting impact. But before we move on to explore the broader implications of his transformation, I want to circle back to Esau for a moment.
Oh, yeah. Esau.
We started with Jacob's terror over Esau's potential revenge, but we haven't really delved much into Esau's side of the story yet. What are your thoughts on that?
You're right. You're right. We've been so focused on Jacob's inner turmoil that we haven't given Esau much attention at all.
Yeah.
What could have been going through his mind during all those years?
Right.
Did he harbor resentment towards Jacob, or had he found a way to, to move on?
And remember all those gifts that Jacob sent ahead? Well, when they finally meet face to face, Esau, he doesn't storm in with an army ready for vengeance.
He doesn't.
No. Instead, he runs to Jacob, embraces him, and he even weeps.
Oh, wow.
It's this moment that completely flips the script on our expectations.
Yeah, it really does.
This is where the story takes another fascinating turn. It suggests that forgiveness and healing, they're actually possible,
They are.
even in the face of deep hurt and betrayal.
It's amazing.
It challenges us to consider the possibility of reconciliation in our own lives, even in situations that seem, totally irreconcilable.
I love that. That's so powerful.
It makes you wonder, does this reconciliation, does it actually represent a transformation in Esau as well? Did he also undergo this period of, wrestling with his own emotions?
Yeah.
And ultimately choosing forgiveness over revenge?
That's a great question. We often focus so much on the transformation of the protagonist, but maybe there's a parallel journey happening in Esau as well.
Right.
Maybe true reconciliation requires transformation on both sides.
It's true. It's easy to get so wrapped up in Jacob's story that we forget that Esau has his own journey, his own process of wrestling with emotions and stuff. And this reconciliation, this act of forgiveness from Esau, it kind of throws a wrench into the traditional hero's journey, doesn't it?
It certainly does. You expect, a dramatic confrontation, maybe even a battle of wills. But instead, you get this incredibly tender moment of brotherly love. It reminds us that transformation and reconciliation can be messy, unpredictable, full of surprises.
And it's not just about these two brothers, is it? This whole story of Jacob's transformation from deceiver to Israel, from struggling with God to prevailing with God, it becomes a foundational narrative for an entire people. Like his personal struggles end up shaping the identity of a nation.
It's amazing, right, how this one man's wrestling match literally and figuratively ripples outward to impact, generations to come. It makes you think. How do our personal journeys shape those larger narratives of our families, our communities, even our nations?
Makes you think. What hip tendons are we carrying collectively?
Right.
What stories from our past continue to shape who we are today? But going back to Jacob's personal transformation, it's often seen as this classic wilderness journey, this literary trope we see in so many stories.
Exactly. It's this common archetype, the hero venturing into the unknown, facing challenges, confronting their inner demons, ultimately emerging transformed. Think, Frodo in Lord of the Rings or Luke Skywalker in Star Wars.
Right.
Classic examples.
It's so fascinating how this archetype just resonates across cultures and time periods. It speaks to something really universal, doesn't it?
It does.
This need to grapple with challenges.
Yeah.
To grow, to transform.
For sure. And Jacob's journey highlights another crucial element here, which is the presence of the divine throughout this whole process. Sometimes it's overt, like that wrestling match.
Yeah.
Other times it's more subtle. But there's this constant thread of divine guidance and intervention shaping his path.
I wonder how we recognize the divine in our own lives. Do we always need a dramatic wrestling match to wake us up? Or are there subtler signs, quieter moments of grace that guide us along the way?
That's a good question. Are we paying attention to the whispers, the nudges, those synchronicities that might be pointing us in the right direction?
Yeah.
But let's not forget, Jacob's transformation, it didn't come without a cost. He walked with a limp for the rest of his life.
That is such a powerful image. It suggests that growth, even spiritual growth, often involves some level of pain, some sacrifice.
Right.
We might emerge stronger, wiser, more aligned with, our true selves.
Yeah.
But there's often a limp, a reminder of that struggle.
Yeah. It's a reminder that transformation isn't always, pretty or painless. It requires a willingness to confront our shadow sides, to let go of old patterns, and to embrace the unknown, even if it leaves us a little bruised and battered. But Let's shift gears for a second. We've been talking a lot about the individual journey.
Yeah.
But Jacob's story also offers some really profound insights into the dynamics of reconciliation and forgiveness.
Absolutely. I mean, the way Esau runs to embrace Jacob, the tears, that genuine outpouring of emotion, it really challenges us to think about our own capacity for forgiveness.
Yes.
Are we holding on to grudges, nursing past hurts? Or are we open to the possibility of reconciliation, even with those who have wronged us deeply?
Right.
It makes you wonder, what would happen if we approach conflict with a little more grace, a little more willingness to understand the other person's perspective?
Yeah.
Could we create more of those powerful moments of healing and reconciliation in our own lives?
I think so. I think so.
Those are some powerful questions to sit with. So wrapping things up for our listener today, let's bring it back to the heart of this whole deep dive.
Okay.
Jacob's story. This ancient tale, it's more than just a historical account, isn't it?
Oh, it is.
What enduring lessons can we take away from this wrestling match, this transformation, this act of reconciliation?
I think Jacob's story offers us this timeless roadmap for navigating our own journeys of transformation. It reminds us that growth often emerges from struggle, that reconciliation is possible even in the face of, deep hurt, and that the divine is often at work in our lives, even when we can't see it clearly.
It's a powerful message of hope,
It is.
resilience, and the possibility of redemption. We've covered so much ground, haven't we? Jacob's transformation, his reconciliation with Esau, and all those, those hip tendons that we're all carrying around, those lingering reminders of our struggles and everything. But before we completely wrap up, I want to circle back to something we mentioned earlier, that element of mystery that's kind of woven through this whole story.
Yeah, you're right. There is this sense of the unknown, the unexplainable that runs through Jacob's encounter with the divine. We never really get a clear answer about who or what he wrestled with that night.
Right, Zach.
Was it an angel? Was it a manifestation of God? Or something else complete? The text leaves it really open to interpretation.
And even the name of the place where it happens, Peniel, it means face of God. But did Jacob actually see God face to face? Or was it more of a symbolic experience, something that transcends like human understanding?
That ambiguity, I think that's part of what makes this story so enduring and thought-provoking,
Yeah.
It invites us to kind of wrestle with our own understanding of the divine, to embrace that mystery and acknowledge that sometimes faith isn't about having all the answers.
That reminds me of that line from Rilke, live the questions now. Perhaps you will gradually, without noticing it, live your way into the answer. Maybe that's the real invitation here, to lean into the questions, to be okay with not knowing everything.
I think you hit the nail on the head. Jacob's story, it isn't just some historical account. It's like an invitation to engage with those really big questions about life, faith, identity. It's a reminder that sometimes the most transformative experiences come when we grapple with those mysteries, the things we can't fully wrap our heads around.
So as we come to the end of our deep dive, we want to leave you, our listener, with one final thought, something to kind of chew on. Have you ever had an experience, maybe not as dramatic as wrestling with a divine being all night, but an experience that forced you to really confront your fears, to grapple with the unknown? An experience that in the end changed you?
It could have been, a moment of crisis, a loss, a profound encounter with nature, maybe even just a simple realization that shifted your perspective. Whatever it was, how did it shape who you are today? What hip tendons are you carrying as reminders of that journey?
We encourage you to reflect on those questions, to explore your own encounters with the mysterious, with transformation, with the divine. And until next time, keep diving deep into the stories that shape us, the stories that challenge us, the stories that remind us of the enduring power of the human spirit.